Nowadays, a lot of focus is put on electric and hybrid vehicles, and whilst undoubtedly they are the future, they do pose a few issues. One of those being cost. Now, due to the axing of the UK plug-in grant, they're more expensive than ever, and a lot of them cost a value that some of us could only dream to afford. So what if you're still interested in those affordable petrol vehicles? Well, today's video could be for you. Hi guys, I'm Tish and this is Auto Social UK. If you like new car reviews and car content, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow me along on my journey. I'm at Underwoods in Colchester today to show you around the latest generation of Skoda Fabia. It's now bigger and also more economical than ever before, but still, compared to its competitors, is reasonably affordable. So what has changed other than the size when it comes to the Skoda Fabia? As I previously mentioned, the latest generation of Skoda Fabia is larger than ever before. The wheelbase has been increased by 10mm, giving you more interior and boot space, which we'll talk about later. But the exterior shape has changed as well. The previous generation Fabia was very boxy in its shape. This generation is much sleeker, with a few more lines along the side to give it that more appealing look. The only problem I see with this is the fact that it's lost a little bit of its personality. The Fabia was always known for being that boxy shape, and now it looks a little bit more like the Volkswagen Polo, which it shares a platform with. However, I do think that extra space can never be a negative. It still features those two wonderful bonnet creases along the bonnet, which flow into the Skoda badge. However, now for 2022, the new generation has a different style grille. Previously, the grille was upturned, almost in a slight smile, but now it shares the same grille with the Skoda Enyaq, which is slightly more boxy and rounded. This vehicle only comes available as a petrol. There's no diesel or hybrid options, but that doesn't mean that they haven't focused on making the Skoda Fabia more economical than ever before. And they've done that in a few ways. The first is by making the shape just a bit more aerodynamic. And they've also added this new honeycomb grille along the bottom. Now, as the car is driving and the engine doesn't need cooling, that grille will actually close off to make the vehicle more aerodynamic. All Skoda Fabias come with LED front headlights as standard. Rear are an option, but front are standard. Now, this is the SE Comfort vehicle, which is second in the lineup. However, not a lot of people will opt to go for the S variant. In fact, I doubt Skoda will sell any of them. Those are the vehicles with no front fog lights. So you can kind of see this as the entry-level Skoda Fabia. And for entry-level, it gets a pretty decent amount of equipment. I also really like the vents that you've got along the side of the fog lights, which actually are physical as well. Other ways that they've made the Fabia more aerodynamic is in the alloy wheel designs. Now, this vehicle gets 15-inch alloy wheels as standard, but these have been upgraded to 16s. But they all come in a quite aerodynamic, almost electric hubcap design. Now, the good news is, if you're not into these kind of designs, then you can actually, just like the Teslas, pop off the plastic covers and you've got some standard alloy wheels underneath. Despite the Skoda Fabia being one of the cheaper Skodas in the lineup, it still gets those wonderful crystal details. You've got the crystal LED Skoda lighting, which looks brilliant at night, and you've also got the little crystal details in the door mirrors as well. Moving around to the rear of the car, and yeah, I really like this. I think it looks ultra smart. I like those new sharp, more angular rear lights. And you've also got the addition of a new plastic diffuser, which has some slightly angular designs which give the illusion of some rear tailpipes, but there's not actually any offending false tailpipes down there, which is really good to see. I've also got an extended rear spoiler, which is finished in gloss black. Now, if you go for the slightly upgraded versions, the SEL or the colour edition of the Fabia, you can actually have a black roof, and I think that would look really good on this car. Now, here is where it has its trump card. Remember me saying about that extended space in the rear and boot? Well, inside the boot of the Fabia, you'll find a whopping 380 litres of space. That's around 80 more than the Vauxhall Corsa, than the Ford Fiesta. It's even more than you'll find in the Polo, which it shares a platform with. In fact, the Skoda Fabia has a similar boot space to you'll find in the Volkswagen Golf, which of course is in the class above. It also has all those handy storage solutions from Skoda as well. You've got little hooks to hang your shopping on. You've also got little bits of elastic which you can hold things back with. But it's not all great news. There is a few things that make the Skoda Fabia's boot not all that usable. And for one, it's the fact that it doesn't have an adjustable boot floor as standard, meaning when you put those rear seats down in a 60-40 split, it's not completely flat like I had in the Honda Jazz. But let's face it, with 380 litres, which is more than the Honda Jazz, if you've got pushchairs, if you've got luggage, it's sure to all fit in this boot. And it even gets a little hook, which makes it easier to put the boot down. So far from the outside, the SE Comfort trim looks really smart, but it does fall short slightly on the interior, and it is worth upgrading to the next trim level. The next trim level gets things like seat pockets with somewhere to put your mobile phone. You also get an armrest with 2 cup holders, USB charging ports, and most of all, this version has still got windy windows. So if you're going to be carrying people in the back, it's definitely worth upgrading. I must admit, it seems a little bit mean, but I didn't have the highest expectations for the interior of the Fabia, mainly because I've seen the latest generation of the Seat Ibiza and I thought that felt quite cheap. However, the interior in here has impressed me. I think it's the fact that it's all one colour, it's nice and black and grey, it looks smart and stylish. Everywhere you look there's nice little details as well. You've got the really heavy weighted buttons on the steering wheel with that chrome detailing. You've also got a nice leather wrap steering wheel in this 2-spoke design which is quite fancy. You've got plastics used, but they feel quite good quality, not like in the Seat Ibiza. And I like this almost embossed detail around the air vents and around details of the infotainment system. Now, because this is the entry-level SE Comfort trim, it does get the smaller touchscreen, and I think this does make it feel cheaper. However, if you don't like touchscreens and you like physical buttons, then this could be a good option. Because if you upgrade this screen to the larger one, these actually become touchscreen buttons instead. So some people might prefer this. And talking of buttons, regardless of what trim level you go for on your Skoda Fabia, they all come with physical climate control dials, which is really nice to see. If you do upgrade, they become a little bit digital and look just a bit smarter. But actually, I think these are more than sufficient. The specification is very good and above what you'd expect from this class of car. I've got Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've also got cruise control, automatic lights, automatic rain sensing wipers. There isn't too much more, if you use your Apple CarPlay for your maps, that you might want from your car. It also gets rear parking sensors as standard, but this one has been upgraded to have front and rear sensors, as well as automatic parking. But actually, for a car of this size, I think rear sensors is more than sufficient. One of my favourite things about the new Fabia is this design down the front of the instrument cluster. How cool does that look? And this, again, is one of the entry-level cars, and you still get that design, which I think is really funky. If you like digital dials, you will have to upgrade to the SEL or the Colour, which will give you fully digital dials and do feel much smarter. But actually, these ones are more than sufficient. There's just one thing that's let me down on the interior of this Fabia, and that's these seats. The bolstering doesn't feel particularly robust, and I would be worried that it would wear down over time. There is no doubting the fact that the Fabia has managed to keep its prices low by not offering any electrified options. It only comes available in 3 power outputs from a 1 litre engine. The entry level is a non-turbo 80 brake horsepower engine. Whilst this car is good for short journeys if you're nipping to the shops, if you did need some power, this probably isn't going to be the engine for you, as it takes nearly 15 seconds to get from 0 to 62. A much better option, if you can afford it, is the slightly more powerful 94 brake horsepower engine. Now this does have a turbo and you can really feel it. It's the car that I'm driving today, and it's more than sufficient for 90% of your journeys. Yes, okay, it still takes 10 seconds to get from 0 to 62, but that is much better than that 15 seconds. It's paired with a 5-speed manual gearbox, which is more than sufficient. A 6-speed would be my preference, but beggars can't be choosers, and this is a small car for around town, and for that the 5-speed works perfectly. The final choice is a 109 brake horsepower engine paired together with an automatic gearbox. Now if you need an automatic gearbox, this is a fantastic option. It feels sharp and snappy and it suits the car really well. The only negative is when you go to pull off quickly, it can hesitate from time to time. But overall, for most driving, it's very, very good. I'm actually finding myself extremely impressed at the drive of this car. The engine is actually familiar to me. I used to have a company car which was a Polo, which had the 94 brake horsepower manual gearbox, and it drives very similar. It has those sharp, snappy gear changes, it's quick to pull off, it has more than enough power. But actually, I think the Skoda just feels a bit more refined. It's comfortable, it's quiet, and it's extremely smooth. Though all cars aren't without compromise, and though the Fabia is smooth and comfortable on the road, it does lack in some of that engagement through the steering wheel. Once you get up to higher speeds, it does start to have a bit of body roll and the steering's not all that sharp. If you wanted a car which was a little bit sharper, then you could go for the classic Ford Fiesta, which is so well known for that, or something like the Seat Ibiza. But if the Fabia is on your list of new cars to buy, then you probably wasn't expecting it to handle sportily anyway. If you wanted that, then you'd go for a sporty trim, or you'd wait for the Monte Carlo of the Fabia. But as the car is designed to be, a safe, comfortable family car, it's very good at that. And safety has always been a key theme in Skodas, and that's no different to today. It gets a ton of safety equipment, including anti-collision warning and lane assist. £15,000 doesn't get you a lot nowadays. In fact, I think that's the average cost of a large coffee from Starbucks. But it does get you the entry-level Skoda Fabia. In fact, this one that I'm driving today is not far off of that. And look at all of the equipment you get. But I definitely think it's worth upgrading. Even the top spec Fabia gives you change from £20,000, and then you get all of the really nice bits of trim that I think this model is missing. Overall, it's just extremely good value for money, and it's hard to be beat. As someone which has never really been a brand snob, I have always thought really highly of the Skoda Fabia. In fact, not too long ago, I recently convinced one of my friends to purchase a Skoda Fabia, and she loved it so much that her boyfriend went out and he bought one as well. They offer fantastic value for money, and now I think in this latest generation of Skoda Fabia, it's more grown up than ever before and offers you more space, it's more economical. What's there not to love? But let me know, what do you think of the Skoda Fabia? Perhaps you preferred the previous generation in that boxy style? Let me know in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed this video today, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you like new car reviews and car content, then hit that subscribe button. And don't forget, if you was in the market for either a Skoda Fabia or any other Skodas, then click the link below and Underwoods Skoda will be happy to help you out. Until next time guys, see you later.